there might be some persecution here and there, but generally speaking, a an organisation like that is our only hope. And some people get a little bit butthurt by the word organisation because they say, oh, the church wasn't organised, and religion's not supposed to be organised, and look at the Catholic Church, and look at the organised this and the organised that. And I agree. I used to be one of those people who used to say that because I used to look at these organised religions and see that they were a little bit corrupt. But if the church is organised in the right spirit, which is what Jesus said to do, he said to organise. He said there's congregations. He said there's ministers and deacons and bishops and festivals and ways to do things. These are organised endeavours. So there must be organisation. And an organisation such as that cannot be defeated unless the people don't do it anymore, or the people just don't do it. That's the only thing that's stopping that type of organisation, just people not doing it. It's just waiting to be done. And it is being done, but and some people might say, oh, well, anytime there's an organisation, it can be infiltrated, and there could be agents in there and things like this. But the nature of the organisation that Jesus came to show is that because people come to give and people congregate, what happens is that if they're not there in the right spirit, it's found out fairly quickly, and there's not a lot that can be done anyway by anyone who wants to infiltrate, because no one's doing anything wrong. We're just coming together and loving one another, and in the spirit of charity. And if someone needs help, we help. And if they need help, we help them. So there's no law against giving someone a gift. And, there's no guarantees. The early church was outlawed by Marcus Aurelius because the people in the Christian organisation, and I'm not talking about the Catholic Church, obviously, I'm talking about the true early church that were congregating, they wouldn't. Marcus Aurelius came out with a directive that you had to register your child within 30 days of birth. And the Christians wouldn't register because they knew that would be placing their offspring on the altar of Baal. And that's the first step, to register your child. So then, it opens up that relationship with the state. So the Christians wouldn't do it. And they were persecuted. And, they were fed to the lions, and, things happened to them. But then, see, the Roman Empire fell, and then the Christians lived on for hundreds of years. And, the truth cannot be defeated. And it was only at 1066 when, the Norman conquests came with the Domesday Book into England and that area where there were people that were still practicing Christians, where they didn't have a ruler and they didn't tax people by force, and there was no force in their society. But then they agreed to be taxed by the papal king, the conqueror. Okay, and they wrote their properties down in the Doomsday Book, and they started being taxed. Their property started being taxed, and then it all went from there. You had, the Magna Carta, which was just like the Constitution, and these are just tools of bondage. They're not freeing the people. They're making contracts with the people. So here we are today. It's been 1,000 years since there was any real freedom in Europe. It's been a couple of 100 years since there was any freedom in America. The Constitution and the Washington D.C. was the end of that. People that were actually free in America. And Australia's never been free. I mean, it's been a stacked deck since day dot with the Queen in charge and so forth. So, but all we have to do is what Jesus said. That's the best part about this. You know, I've looked at all the law and I've studied all the law and, you know, I've gone through all that, 15 years ago. And the more I go on, the simpler it gets. And all you've got to do is what Jesus said. That's it. And all the rest will take care of itself. And it says in the Bible, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all the rest will be added unto you. So God never meant this to be hard. Jesus never meant it to be hard. We've just got to do it the right way, which is come together in congregations, elect a minister, the minister networks with other ministers, they find out who needs help, people give, they sacrifice, they don't sacrifice, they give to Caesar what Caesar's, because it's a process. You don't just jump out of the system because you can't. Okay? People have tried. You have to give Caesar what's Caesar's, but then you've also got to give to God what's God's and start to build and produce this network. You see, it's a logical process. You can't just turn the ship around on a dime. It has to slowly turn around. And then once the network's there and then Caesar goes away because the system fails or whatever, or someone says, let my people go, and everyone just goes because there's because they can. That's the way to go. Not jumping off the plank, walking the plank, and jumping out and jumping in the sea, and then saying, "Oh, come and jump in the sea," and then everyone tries to jump in the sea, and then all the sharks just get them, because it's not really the way to go. People have looked at this for decades, and it's good to see people trying, but some of us have been around a longer time, and they know, not 3 or 4 years, I'm talking 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and have seen people try to do this, and it doesn't work. You've got to come together, same way Abraham did, same way Moses did, same way Jesus did, and when the time is right, you walk out together, and that's the way to do it. And you can get started today. You can start to put your energy toward that today. You can start to benefit from that today. Especially when it comes time where they come chasing us with a needle. And then what are you going to do? Where are you going to run? When they kick your door down, are you going to be home when they do that? Or where are you going to be? Are you going to be in a refuge somewhere? Is someone going to be looking after you and your family because you're not home? There's all these things coming up. So it's time to get together in a real way, not just online. And Christ showed us that way. And that's what we've been looking at for the last 20, 30 years. And we have a site called Preparing You where it's all laid out what to do. So put all your preconceptions aside, put your pride aside in your own understanding, thinking you know what you're doing when you've only been, woke for 5, 10 years, and you think you know what you're doing. Go and listen to guys that have been looking at these things for decades, and have a look at some of the stories, some of the horror stories, actually. People in prison because they try to get ahead of the Lord, jump out of the system, claim things that were just imaginations. They just think they just think these things. They see them and they think that all of a sudden magically that they can just claim these things when they're not taking back their responsibilities. They're not taking back their rights by taking back their responsibilities. They're just claiming something. I claim I'm free. It doesn't work like that. It's what you do that counts. And when you do what you have to do, you don't have to get their permission and go into their circus and make any claim. You just do what you got to do and nothing can stop you. And that's the difference. You don't need to ask for permission. That's the nature of the truth. But anyway, it's gone on a bit, this one, so sorry about it. Just cut out before. That's why I had to restart it. But go to Preparing You and get the wisdom on what actually needs to be done. And until next time, peace.